Hey, sorry for the interruption, but we wanted to let you know that this week's episode is brought to you by Spotify for Podcasters. Really cool app. Josiah and I use it for every single show that we bring to you every week. You can edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating as soon as you log into the platform. You can easily distribute your podcasts to Spotify and everywhere else the podcasts are heard, just like we do every single week. You can also create video podcasts on Spotify, which is really cool. And of course, you can earn money like I'm doing right now by including ads and even podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. There's no catch. We really love it. We use it every single week. So we encourage you to go download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. All right, let's get back to the show.
Radical! Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join the gnarly Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the totally tubular tools, advice, and strategies you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now on to this week's Totally Tubular show.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Print on Demand Cast, the second episode of season 3, the second episode of the new look, the new aesthetic, the second episode rather, that we've had a merch store available for you to go visit. Again, printondemandcast.com/shop. I am wearing one of our shirts right now. It says dad jokes and information and education and podcast professionals and dad jokes. Easiest way to support the show, go grab a shirt. I know I'm shilling from the start, but I'm okay with that because it's our show. Yeah. Anyway, as always, my co-host, Travis Ross. Travis, how's it going, man?
It's going all right, man. It's, a hot day here in Colorado. We've had a hot summer,
We have. It's been not unseasonally, but unusually, rather. It seems very spicy summer.
Yeah. Usually we have a couple, maybe a couple weeks worth of 90+ degree weather. And this summer, we've had a lot more than that. And so today it was like 95, and I'm in the shop right now. And so at about 5 o'clock, everyone leaves around 5:30. So at 5 o'clock, I have the thermostat kind of kicks off. So it's not cooling anymore. And so about 6 o'clock PM, it's still hot outside, and I was getting a little toasty. So I had to turn the AC back on. So, so I could get through this without passing out on the camera.
No, I don't blame you. I've had plenty of episodes where I have to turn the AC off, and the listener and the viewer doesn't know that I'm sweating my body weight by the time the episode is over, because at the time all of my AC remedies were loud and they would show up. And I'm a podcast professional. We are both podcast professionals, so we don't want noisy fans bleeding over into the audio. Travis, how's things been going since episode 52? And have you heard any good feedback on our 52nd episode, the live we had with Chris Green?
I haven't heard any feedback. I've heard a few people say, that they saw it, they listened. I talked to Uncle Mike, who was on, the live, and people seem to enjoy it. I looked at our downloads just before we clicked record, and it's higher than normal, that episode particularly. So that's a good thing. I guess we did enough promotion about it that people joined, and I actually have talked to Chris since, and he had a great time on the show. He's such a great guest. He's just so much energy, and it's a good time. So if you haven't listened, go back last week and give it a listen. It's a little crazy because it was totally live. The whole thing was live. Yeah, there was a little bit of a delay, and there was no net, and there were 3 of us. So we were, Josiah and I talk over each other all the time, but then you add Chris to the mix, and it gets pretty crazy. But it was a good time, had by all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. On some of the Facebook comments on the live stream, and from what I've seen, people seem to have enjoyed the show, the guest. Of course, like you said, I'll echo your sentiments. Chris is a great guest. I'm glad he had a good time on the show, because he's someone that I know will want to have back frequently, because he's just so full of knowledge, and we haven't even scratched the surface. We seem to kind of dial in on one specific thing each time, but he's got a lot of knowledge in this space. So a lot of people loved the guest. A lot of people loved the new look, the new aesthetic, the new logo, the new shirt. So there seems to be some positive interaction, some positive equity on the gamble that we made in kind of changing the entire aesthetic of the show at the 1 year mark. But it seems to be something that people are enjoying. And speaking, Travis, of gambling, You and I, in case the listener doesn't know, we go to a free poker night each week. Well, I'm not there every week. You go more frequently than I do, but it's a free poker night at a local bar in Erie. So why don't you tell the people a little bit about it, and then we'll just tell them the whole point of why we brought this up to brag on ourselves. But I'll let you go first as I crack open this beer.
Yeah. So it's one of those, it's a free poker night. If you win, you get like, $25 bar tab or a gift certificate. So if you get second place, I think you get 20, it's like 30, 20, and 10.
30, 20,
yeah. And so I go, it's fun. We used to have poker nights. Josiah used to host them. His uncle-in-law. That's a weird thing that we've.
Yeah.
Who's your uncle-in-law, basically?
Basically, my brother, essentially, is how Josh refers to me. But uncle-in-law, technically, on paper.
Yeah. So we used to do that, and we would have a poker night every month over at Josh's house, and then Josh selfishly moved to Texas, and so we've still not forgiven him for that. But he's actually going to be back tomorrow night for the Wednesday night game. Where actually he's going to come to the Erie game at the bar there. So so I go, and it's usually 2 tables, and then they'll kind of come to a final table. I think one night there were 3 tables, so that was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's just a good time. It's a fast paced game. They raise the blinds really fast. If you're not into poker, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But it's
people are like, what are blinds? Why are they raising blind people really fast? This is very strange.
But it's a good time. So a few weeks ago, I went and did really well, and actually won that evening. And so this is like a association of it's like a whole bunch of, they have games all over at different places along the
in Colorado, right?
Front Range. Yeah, around the Front Range in Colorado. And then they have this thing that they call, it's like the championship or something, and it's like a $1,500. They have like 12 tables, and it's a big deal.
It's huge.
But you have to win one of the games on a specific night when they are giving what's called a golden ticket, so you can get in to this championship game. And so I actually won a golden ticket a couple weeks ago. And then
you did
not 2 weeks later, probably.
Probably. Last week's game. Yeah.
Won a golden ticket. And in fact, we have visual proof of it right here.
In case you guys think we're liars, here we go. We have the golden ticket right there in each of our hands. Travis took first place that night. I ended up taking second, but the gentleman that I lost to already had a golden ticket. So the golden ticket deferred to me, and I'm not going to let that diminish the fact that I went through the entire table that night. So 2 tables, actually. It was 2 tables that I outlasted and got second place. So it was a good night overall. And just a little insight to your podcast professionals, we both enjoy poker. It's something that my dad always did with us. And so with me growing up, and we play poker. And so I've played it my whole life. So yeah, it's a good time. And if you ever see us in person, maybe at ISS, we can have a hotel room, Texas Hold'em poker tournament.
Yeah, that'd be a good time. Josiah is actually a really good dealer. I think, I'm excited to play in the game, but I think I'm most excited that I get to meet Willy Wonka.
Yeah, I just hope it's the Gene Wilder version. Is he still alive? He's not.
Oh,
he's not. So
he's not. You should Google that.
Yeah, 1 second. Gene, I don't think he is.
Really? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yep. He died in 2016.
He did. It's been a hot minute. So sorry, Gene. So I guess if I can at least meet Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka impersonator, I'll be okay. And we will tell that to the organizer of this event when we see her tomorrow night. So now that all of you have endured our bragging on ourselves and you non-poker players, I hope you haven't just, stopped listening. Just hit the fast forward button. So yeah, we got 2 golden tickets, and we are the master of bantering. We are the Bruce Banters. That's another dad joke. Actually, it's a really bad pun and bad dad joke. But speaking of dad jokes, Travis, we'd be remiss if we did not give the people our newest segment, this week's Weekly Dad Joke.
Time for the Weekly Dad Joke.
So the other day, Travis, I found a 2,000-year-old stain.
Yeah. Seriously, 2,000 years old.
Seriously. Turns out it was from ancient Greece. And that was this week's dad joke of the week. Please use it around your water cooler and let us know if you do. And then be sure to give us credit because someone didn't once and we're still waiting for our check. So as we move on, Travis, this week from our weekly dad joke, let's go in. I feel like we haven't had one of these at least in a while, maybe a week for sure. But we're going to go straight into this week's point of interest.
Oh, bro, I'm just so bored. I don't know what to do. Yo, bro, you know what you need? Some point of interest. Yeah. Radical. Tip top. Now that's dank.
Travis, tell the people what we stumbled upon is before we press record, and tell them what is this week's point of interest.
Yeah, so I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I got an email from stamps.com who powers ShipStation, which is what we use to ship all of our products and such. And they were talking about a post office, they called it peak season rate increase. And so, yeah, bump, ba-da. It's a sad day, but yeah, we are, we're getting ready to be into Q4. And so, I am pulling up, I lost that link, Josiah. Oh, it's in our here. Let me pull it up because just want to make sure I get the dates right. But yeah, it starts on October 3rd.
And it ends then December 26th, I think, according to that.
Exactly.
What they said. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, if you were in POD last year, you know how long the delays were for holiday. The post office just got crushed because people were staying home because of COVID and, they weren't going out to the stores. So they were doing a lot of their shopping online. I mean, last year's Q4 was probably the largest e-commerce Q4 in the history of man. And so the post office really bared a lot of the brunt of delivering that stuff along with, FedEx, UPS, all the other usual suspects. But you combine that with the fact that they had people that were staying home, that basically said, I don't want to work anymore because I'm, afraid to getting COVID or whatever. They had fewer workers and more packages. And so they really got hit hard. And so this year they are doing this peak holiday shipping rate increase, which really is kind of across the board. And they say it's going to end December 26th. Time will tell. We'll see.
Is it though? Is it really?
Exactly. We don't know. They might like that extra money so much that they just keep it. But first class packages since I've started POD have just continued to go up and up and up and up.
Yep.
But that's the way of the world right now.
Sure.
So for instance, any first class package that you send between October 3rd and December 26th this year will have a 30-cent increase on any package. And that's from 1 ounce to 15.999 ounces, which is obviously right under a pound, which defines it as first class. And that's all zones so it doesn't matter how far you're shipping it. You're still going to get dinged on that extra 30 cents. Obviously, you ship a zone 9, it's going to be the highest rate plus 30 cents. You ship a zone 1, it's going to be the lowest rate plus 30 cents.
30 cents. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's on first class. What about priority, Josiah?
Yeah. So for priority, what we're looking at here, I'm going to pull this up real quick. Again, for those of you watching, I'm pulling up everything on the fly because, well, that's what we do here because we're podcast professionals. So for priority, you're looking at, if it's 0 to 10 pounds, zones 1 and 2, you're looking at a 25-cent increase for zones 1, 2, 3, and 4. But then anything above that, 75 cents. From 11 pounds to 20 pounds, which I don't know. God bless you if you're sending 20 pounds worth of print-on-demand product to one person because you're making some good dollars. But in that case, it's $1.50 for zones 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then, again, above that is $3. Zones 21 pounds to 70 pounds, you're going to look at $2.50 for zones 1 through 4. And then zone 5 is $5. So, again, that means that you'll pay the highest rate plus whatever that increase is. So whatever whatever the rate is standard for that priority for that weight class, then you're going to add $2.50 or $5 or $3, whatever that looks like. So that's what priority is looking at for this increase. And like Travis said, it could they could be true to their word and say, hey, December 26th, we're going to give you a Christmas gift and knock this off. But we don't know if that's actually going to happen or not, because as Travis said, they could just like the money. So Travis, here's a question. We're talking about zones 1s and zone 2 and zone 3s, and it sounds like we're breaking down a Hunger Games map. But what I need to know from you, and what the listener probably wants to know is, what is a zone? What are we talking about when we say zone 1, 1, 2, 3, 4? What is a zone?
Sure. So basically, the entire United States has been broken up into zones. Okay. And when we talk about zone 1, 2, it's not like you start, zone 1's in California and zone 9's in New York. It's not like that. The way they do it is wherever you start, you're zone 0, if you will, or I think it's zone 1. So if I send a postcard to Josiah, it's going to be a zone 1 price. So,
and I'm going to ask him why he didn't just give it to me. Why'd you put it in there?
Exactly. No, it's funny though, because sometimes I'll ship packages. I'll get an order or whatever, and I'm like, oh, this is in Broomfield. I could deliver this.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, so that's zone 1, and then so the further out you get from your home zone, if you will, is how it's going to. So if you're in California, when you ship to New York, it's going to be zone 9, or it's going to, it's going to be 9. Actually, it's going to be probably more zones than 9 away, but 9 is the highest zone that you'll get charged for. So maybe anything, from like, I don't know, Tennessee on might be zone 9. And don't quote me on that. If you were in California, but maybe if you're in Kansas and you ship to Tennessee, maybe it's only zone 7 because you're closer. So that's how, the more central you are, as you're going towards the coasts, you might, kind of only get to zone 7 or zone 8. Obviously the most population lives in the East Coast. And so most of the East Coast, most of your sales would be East Coast. And so, so there you go. So wherever you're at on this map, you can see where the different zones are. And as Josiah moves it, we're showing a map of the U.S., and it's an interactive map. So go all the way over to California, Josiah, and you can see. So when you're in California, most of the right half of the entire country is zone 9. And then if you go all the way like over to New York or Florida, most of the left side of the country is going to be zone 9. Like if for us, we're in Colorado, go over to Colorado. So only like Maine and maybe the tippy tip of Florida might be zone 9 for us. Everything's going to be less than that. Of course, Alaska and Hawaii are pretty much always going to be zone 9.
Regardless of where you go, they're pretty zone 9.
Yeah, exactly. So we've talked about this before. I just thought the interactive map is something cool that, we've shared this before. Josiah, make sure you send that to me so I can put it in our show notes so people can see it that aren't able to watch the YouTube video.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're wondering what map we're talking about, again, we do have a YouTube channel, Print on Demand Cast. You can subscribe. We upload video versions of the episodes that we do, because sometimes we do have cool visuals like this that can help you kind of understand what we're looking at and what we're talking about. And, we'll probably put some clips on our Facebook page as well, on the Facebook group, which again, of course, is printondemandcast.com/Facebook. And you're all sick of me saying it, but I'll say it until each and every one of you joins it. And if you don't, I will find you, and I'll make you edit myself. Okay, so that is pertinent information to know as we go into the holidays, because you're going to want to adjust accordingly if you're shipping it yourself, or just know that the shipping that you're going to be paying is increasing. It's just good information overall to know, because you just want to be aware. Every penny counts.
Yeah, and if you're shipping through, if you are fulfilling through someone else, their prices might have to go up a little bit. And so you'll want to, have a little grace for them, because they're going to be paying that extra. And so they likely will pass it on to you.
Yep, absolutely. So, folks, hopefully you have found that to be as interesting as we did to make it a point of interest. And hopefully it's also beneficial to you going into this holiday season. But that wraps it up for this week's Point of Interest. And with that, we're going to move into this week's main event of the evening or episode.
Main event.
Travis, this week's main event is something that we've talked about a couple times. Chris Green's brought it up a couple times. But as we have decided to, for season 3, kind of pivot into an approach for those who are beginning, or that are new or newer to the Print on Demand Cast game, because we realize that you, our listeners, the majority of the demographic of you aren't necessarily in production every day like Travis and I are. And for the last 2 seasons, we've talked a lot about production. We've talked a lot about the ins and outs of hiring and HR and that kind of stuff, because that's the world in which Travis and I are living on a day-to-day basis. But we understand that for a lot of you out there, you're just hiring companies like Travis's or myself's company, Make Your Mark Design for apparel, or a Printful or a Teespring or whatever, to do it for you. And so not a lot of that is applicable to what you're doing. So we want to kind of get to content that applies kind of unilaterally across the board. And one of the things that is the most important, regardless of what stage of the business you're in, or regardless of what you're doing, drop shipping or otherwise, is answering the question, what is your why? That is one of the most important questions when you're starting in a print-on-demand business, or any business for that matter. But Travis, why do you, when you're starting out in this kind of venture, what is the necessity? Why is there a necessity to answer the question, why?
That's a great question. I think that, anytime, so what I have learned in business, or one of the things that I have learned in business, is that anytime you can slow down and reflect on a larger issue, or I used to work for a guy years ago, and he would always, whenever there was an issue, he would say, okay, let's stop and let's define the problem. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's get all of our emotions out of it and really strip it back to its basic issue. And then from there, we can potentially create a better solution. And so this is really similar to that in my mind. It's really forcing yourself to kind of peel back all of the layers and all of the, the social media and all of the other stuff that, and family members and all of the external pressures, and really focusing in on you and your heart and your desires, to really kind of get to that core issue of, because, if you're going to start a business, you're not only trying to solve a problem for other people, you're also, there's something, it's not necessarily, problem may not be the best word for it, but you're trying to solve an issue. You're trying to create something that helps you in some way. And so what is that? That is your why. And so why do you need a why? Well, you need a why because in the hard times, when you inevitably hit a wall, or you have a huge problem, or, a supplier, runs out of a certain t-shirt color or whatever, or a customer cusses you out and posts a terrible review for you on social media or something like that. Any of those things that have happened to all of us that have been in this business for a while. Sure. One of the reasons you need a why is because you can kind of lean on that in those times, because it'll keep you motivated to continue, because that even though all of this stuff's kind of falling on you, that's not the whole thing. That's not the whole, there's a deeper reason that you're doing this. So that's one reason, just to keep you motivated, to keep you driven, to keep you going in those hard times.
Yeah. 100%. And so in doing that, and the answer to that question, your why, and keeping you driven and motivated, kind of becomes your compass. And your why becomes your true north. And so as you're navigating these different things that are inevitably going to, problems, scenarios that are inevitably going to come up, your why will act as your true north and inform the path you take and your decisions. Is this going to be beneficial to my why? Is this going to help me reach my why? Or is this going to detract? Is this going to take me away or further away from my why? And it just kind of gives you a guide to make decisions. And so that's another reason why it's important, because Travis and I have talked on this show a million times, and our guests have talked a million times on the show about the shiny object syndrome. And there's so much potential to get caught up on what's new and what's the newest trend, the newest thing, the newest business idea, the newest business model. And so having a why is a lot of the times can inform whether or not you should entertain those ideas. Is it going to detract? Is it going to distract? Or is it going to help you towards your why? Which is going to definitely help you in the long run as you continue your business, whether you're doing drop shipping or whether you're doing in-house production yourself.
Yeah, I also think that another reason to kind of define this why would be it. To your point, it will help you to be able to say no easier to opportunities that come up that maybe don't necessarily align with your why. So one of the cool things about defining your why is that not only once you define your why, the next thing that you'll do just naturally is it'll like Josiah just said, it'll really inform your path. It'll inform your decision making and how you want to focus on your business, how you want to move forward, the things you want to focus on. And I think any business book you read out there, they're going to tell you to focus. That's like one of the, they may say it in a different way, but that's really at the core of the issue. Focusing, in a direction, in a specific direction, is always going to be better than, like Josiah said, the shiny object syndrome, or kind of just always doing the new thing. You'll never get anything done. You'll just spin your wheels. But if you focus, you can actually get some traction, move down the road. And so by defining your why, you inevitably will define your what and the kind of the who. You'll be able to define your customer base. Who is your ideal customer? And when you define all of these things, it's a lot easier to say no to something that would hijack your why or your what, or your who, and take you off course, because you have that solidly decided for yourself. You've put in the time and the effort to really decide. So I think to informing your path and your decision, right? It brings you into a place where you can avoid being overwhelmed by extraneous things, that are trying to pull for your attention. So I think it's very important to have your why and kind of nail it down.
It's interesting. You've heard the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, why. But why always seems to be at the bottom of that list. So we're just maybe advocating you start with why, because why can inform the who, what, when, where of everything. And so knowing your why can inform the rest of those questions, like Travis was saying. So Travis, what are some potential answers? There's lots of answers to this question. What's your why? But what are some potential ones that come to your mind when you're thinking, when someone asks you, well, what's your why? Or when you ask someone, what's your why? What are the things you're kind of anticipating to hear back from that person when you're kind of feeling out the reason that they've started an endeavor into, this business model or any business model for that matter? Yeah.
I think one of the things that you'll hear, and I think can go either way, really. People want a side income, and I think that can be a good why to begin with, and that you build upon. You want a side income, but then you need to even peel that back further, in my opinion, and say, well, why do you want a side income? Because there's going to be, I think, a deeper why behind that. But that can also, we'll talk about dangerous answers to that question later, but that can also kind of veer off into another direction that can be really dangerous, because if you're just doing it for a side income, then you want every job, every customer, and you're going to put yourself through crap to get, the orders in, and you're going to have to work with people that you don't necessarily want to work with, and you're going to have to burn the candle at both ends because of that being your why. That said, I think that can also be a very healthy starting point to defining your why. I think, again, it goes deeper than that, but that's one potential answer to that question. I mean, there's some more. What else do you think?
There's definitely other ones out there. Like I know one of the answers, it's kind of in conjunction with the side income, is to get out of a job or become self-employed. So that's kind of when you start it for a side income, the inevitable, or not the inevitable, but the ideal outcome from I just want a side income is to say, well, I've built this thing up enough to where now I can actually make it my job. I can get out of the job that I'm working and become self-employed and make this something that I can do on my own terms. I can set my own schedule. I don't have to answer to anybody. And now I'm experiencing a level of freedom that I didn't have before. And so that's my why. I want to get out of the job I'm working. I want to be self-employed. I want to be able to work remotely. And so that's another very viable reason to start an income, to start a print-on-demand business. So another reason, Travis, and that I've heard occasionally is kind of like an artistic expression. You started it just because you're a designer and it's fun, and you come up with ideas and you come up with things that you think are cool, or you're messing around on Photoshop, whatever, and you just want to have an outlet for that kind of passion and have a platform to post and just kind of see what sticks, right? You're designing them anyway. It's something you love to do. Why not throw it on a shirt?
Yeah, exactly. I think that whole artistic expression thing is a great why. There are people in this world that are very creative, and my wife, she'll like make these really cool drawings just as she's just sitting around and whatever. I'm like, man, I wish I could do that. I mean, all of my drawings look like stick figures. They're really bad.
Yeah,
but she's got a talent for that. Now, she's even talked about recently, she's like, I'd love to take an art class, and I'm like, you didn't take an art class? Because that's damn good.
Yeah, no doubt.
she never got formally trained, but she's obviously got talent.
Right.
And she has other ways to express her creativity. But there are people that are very, very bent this way. And I think, print on demand can be an incredible outlet for somebody's artistic expression. So I think that could be a great why. I think another. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I completely agree with that because, well, first of all, any drawing that I do is also very stick figure-like of all the artistic expressions I'm capable of musically. I can't put pencil to paper and make anything that's worth a damn if my life depended on it. But again, my wife can sketch and make really awesome stuff. But I know a lot of people, friends of mine that are graphic designers. A guy that comes to mind specifically is a Canadian friend of mine who makes sketches and cartoon drawings, and he just landed himself a deal with a company to make, it's basically cut and sew shirts, button-ups, and his artwork is now on there because he pursued his passion and he just started making designs, and he got kind of some attention for some of it, and now he's got a lot of lucrative stuff coming in. But he started because, hey, I just like drawing, and this is something that I can do. So the artistic expression is an incredibly viable reason why to get into this. So, Travis, what were you going to say before I brought up my inability to draw?
I was actually just going to say, I was actually kind of going to peel the curtain back on something that one of my whys, I guess. And I realize that we're going to do that later. So
sure,
I don't want to necessarily, let the cat out of the bag, so to speak. So maybe I'll save that, and we'll use that at the end when we talk about our individual whys when we share those with our listeners.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. So we talked about some potential answers, and you mentioned also there's some dangerous answers to this question. And when you and I were kind of writing this out and kind of getting the ideas, I think one of the one we started with is kind of the tent pole bad answer to getting into really any business, not just print on demand, but the idea of, well, it's a get rich quick. I can just throw some stuff on merch by Amazon, or I can throw some stuff on Redbubble, or I can throw some stuff on Spring or whatever, and it's just going to come. My ship is going to arrive, basically. So that is one of the most dangerous answers that you can have for your why.
Mm-hmm. And this is one of the reasons I said the side income can kind of be a bad answer, because does the desire to have a side income as your why come from a get rich quick mentality?
Sure.
Because if it does, that's just not going to do it. I mean, you're going to hit some hard times, some rough waters, and your ship's going to sink, because it's not enough to get you through. Or what's going to happen is that you're going to realize that this is freaking hard work. like the business in and of itself is hard work.
Yeah.
So I will say this, and I've heard this said before on other podcasts, print on demand is super simple, but it's not easy. And I think that really sums it up, and so if you think this is a get rich quick scheme, or that it's going to be super easy and, you're going to put up some designs and all of a sudden the floodgates are going to open and dollar bills are going to be flooding your feet, it ain't going to happen, man. It just ain't going to happen. It's super simple. I mean, and I think there's a very low barrier to entry for people to get into this, but I think just as many not just as many, but a large percentage of people that start with print on demand, they get out just as fast because it's hard work.
Sure.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
And so you need to know that if your why is, because, you want to get rich quick, or you want a side income that's really easy and simple and super, I can just blah, 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 and bam, bam, bam. And, bada boom, bada bing, I got, Lamborghini in my driveway.
Yeah.
I don't have a Lamborghini.
Rocket. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't have a Lamborghini. Josiah doesn't have a Lamborghini.
No.
This is not a get rich quick scheme. It's a lot of hard work.
No, it is.
And it's fulfilling work. But I think the reason I can say that is because I do have a why that I can fall back on in the hard times. So there's there's another one we talked about earlier, like a dangerous answer to that question too.
Yeah, for sure. And again, these kind of, tie into each other really easily. But the other one is like, well, everyone said it was easy. There was a course. I watched a YouTube video. There was a guru, and he said that if I signed up for his course and I paid him this much money, that I could be making a 6-figure income from merch by Amazon. So I'm just going to do it because I can make that 6-figure income from merch by Amazon. These two answers are very much intertwined to each other. I understand that guru that you're paying this course from didn't get rich quick. He's basically giving you all the highlights and the tools, but not telling you necessarily how to make, something out of this piece of granite you have. You're going to have to do the chipping away yourself, and you're not just going to make a, David sculpture on your first try. You're going to go through some slabs of granite before you make something that's even resembling a human, basically. So it's not a get rich quick thing. And you might be listening to this and thinking, well, no, it is. No, I don't believe it. I can't believe they're trying to deter me. We're not trying to deter you from starting in POD. We're just trying to, I guess, manage expectations, let you know for your benefit. Yeah. This isn't a get rich quick thing. And we want to spare you the disappointment that will inevitably set in, and know that, you can make a good income and you can make a living doing this, but it's not going to happen overnight or in 2 months or in 3 months or in it's a long game, basically. Yeah. So you might be kind of off put that we're like, hey, this isn't a get rich quick thing, but we're just trying to inform you from two people who have seen every ins and outs of this whole thing. And same with kind of selling, FBA on Amazon. Everyone thinks, well, I can just do it and get rich quick. But there's such an incredible amount of fall off from first year sellers on Amazon, or first year merch by Amazon sellers, or people that want to get into POD in their first year. They just quit because no one sat them down and said, hey, this isn't a get rich quick. You're going to have a game plan. It's going to be a long play, but it can be successful. It's simple, but not easy, like you said, which I think is a fantastic way to kind of sum that up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so much behind the scenes. It's not just about designing and posting. There's so much more to this. And, And anybody that tells you different is trying to sell you something.
Exactly. Is a guru that's selling you a course.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's, frankly, we've had people on here that have courses and have trainings and all of that stuff. Some of that stuff, we've looked at, and it's good stuff. But even that good stuff still isn't going to, prepare you for that social media blast that a upset customer had, or they're not going to necessarily, tell you how to balance your, or enter your stuff into the right bookkeeping software to where when tax time comes, you're ready. So there's a lot of other things that you don't think about when you think print on demand that are more businessy, if you will.
Yeah.
And, but it's another
it's kind of the nuts and bolts, right? It's the minutia of it. It's almost like, this is kind of the anti guru podcast, kind of letting you know that there are things that are going to happen that these courses may not prepare you for. And there's tools that we're trying to give you as well as personal experience to help you understand that when you hit certain points or roadblocks or frustrations, that it's completely natural and it's not time to give up just because you haven't made a lot of money and you've hit this you've hit this roadblock and you're not, on a yacht somewhere. It's just Travis and I are genuinely, the reason we started this is because we want to see other people succeed in this space. And of course, we want to see each other succeed in this space. And doing so requires that we're just very transparent and honest with the expectations of this. Just isn't one of those things that you're just going to start and be driving a new Tesla tomorrow or next month or whatever. So, it's very much a long play, but it is doable and it's rewarding. And it's rewarding because it's not easy. Stuff that comes easy isn't necessarily the most rewarding stuff. You don't have a lot of value that you place on stuff that you're just given that came really easy, but you value the things that you work hard for, which is just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. So what do you do with all of this? I mean, you might have already fast forwarded because you're sick of us just moaning on about how hard this thing is. But I think, we're just trying to give you insight. And I think if you really take a minute and you strip all of this stuff back and you really internalize some of the things we're saying and go, what is my why? Why am I doing this? Why do I want to do this so badly? Is it because of somebody, something somebody said and I need to prove myself? Or, why do I need to prove myself? And dig into that. Simon Sinek is an amazing author, and he wrote a book called Start With Why. He also has a TED Talk on YouTube. You can look it up. Just it's the same title, Start With Why. Dude, it's freaking amazing. And you watch the TED Talk and you're going to immediately go buy the book. And it's incredible. So if you need a place to start, that is a great place to start. That'll really help you ask the right questions, because that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about asking yourself the right questions and forcing yourself to slow down quick enough to answer, or slow down enough, not quick enough, to slow down enough to answer those questions that you're asking yourself. And so, check out Simon Sinek, Start With Why. But let's flip the script a little bit and talk about, I mentioned it a little while ago, our individual whys, why we're doing this, what's our purpose. Josiah, why don't you start? Why don't you tell us what, as you've reflected, what's your why for doing POD?
Yeah, for sure. Well, this is something that, of course, the first answer is something that I can build to provide for my family, my wife, my future kids, my 2 Shih Tzus who we treat like kids, but they're very cheap to provide for, so they're not too crazy. So no, but obviously it's, you want to provide for your family, but for me, it's also working towards the ability to be able to travel, to be able to work remotely, to be able to kind of, not like we talked about, have those typical 9 to 5 typical job expectations, not expectations, but you don't have to answer necessarily to the typical system or hierarchy. But beyond that, and not to get too philanthropic with my answer, but there is this idea, because if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, that Travis and I are both involved in church and both involved in ministries and worship. But there's this underlying current of a desire to be able to build a business that is successful, to allow it to be able to fund endeavors, missions, charities, ministry work that makes it to a point where I can go and do that without expecting anything in return. And my wife and I can travel and we can be able to bless people. And even when it comes to employment, give people who may not have a second chance available to them, give them a second chance and give them employment and give them a fresh start and to travel and to be able to speak and bless people and to just be really loving without needing a monetary a monetary element to kind of justify or to make it worth it, if that makes sense. So really that for me is like, because I'm super passionate about that stuff. I'm super passionate about being able to make a positive impact. And I would love to be able to do that without having to worry about, well, where's the money coming from, or how are we going to make this work, or we want to fund this trip. So, but to build the business to a point where it's able to fund those type of things. And when I say fund, I mean, obviously through my income, not necessarily through the business itself. Like, What For Apparel is not going to be like coming to Cambodia, What For Apparel presents, like nothing like that. It's just, but being able to do those kind of endeavors without the stress of a financial burden on the people that we're going to be with or on our end. So I think that's kind of the underlying thing for me, is just being able to have something that provides me the opportunity to do the things that I'm very passionate about. Not that I'm not passionate about POD. I am, but it's certain there's other things that are good for my soul that I'm very passionate about that I want to be able to do. And building a business to a point where it's successful financially to be able to do those things easily is the thing that keeps me going when orders are slow. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that overarching reason. Sure. So again, not to be too I don't know, like I said, philanthropic, but that is part of it as well as of course. So I want to be able to I think, put in the work to be able to work when I want, and be able to work remotely. But of course, that point's not here because there's hard work to do before you get to that point. Yeah. But that's part of it for me, man. What about you, Travis? What is your reason why, as you've had time to reflect for your business? What is your true north? What's that compass pointing towards for you?
Yeah, I have similar philanthropic.
That's a good word. Can I just
ideas.
Say? Philanthropic is a $10 word. I just want to say that. And I think we need to start putting that back in the everyday vocabulary, the vernacular. Philanthropic. Use it around the water cooler and tell them where you got it from, and then tell them to subscribe and leave a 5-star review for the incredible vernacular that your hosts use. All right, continue.
So I think, that's definitely, as you were talking, I was, resonating with that. But it's definitely, there's a financial element, providing for my family, providing a, even a retirement, if you will. Like the business kind of, we have some retirement, but like the business really is kind of our plan for retirement, whether or not we sell it or continue to run it into our golden years, as it were. Sure. Or maybe even potentially pass it down if my son, continues to work for me and continues to enjoy it and wants to take on more and more responsibility. So there's a generational, kind of thing there, and just a providing for my family and providing opportunities for them. So that's definitely one of them. I think one of the things that, when I was reflecting, I was talking to a good friend, and the friend I'm talking about, Luke. And Luke, a mutual friend of ours, has an incredible way with words, and really an incredible way with communication, and just the ability to really dig and understand what somebody is saying and help them understand with what they're saying. And so he has helps brands. One of the things he does is helps brands define their messaging, because he's so good at this. And so he was just helping me try to formulate kind of a mission statement, if you will, or something that would give me and my people, my employees and all that, purpose beyond just, time to make the donuts, and donuts. Yeah, exactly. Just kind of their head down and just make the thing. And one of the things that he helped me realize was that, the things that we sell are giftable. So something that I realized, and that really has helped me kind of be excited about some of the things that we do, is that we get to create products that give a little bit of happiness and joy to whoever gets them. So when somebody unwraps that Christmas present or that birthday present or whatever, and they read that coffee mug or they see that T-shirt, there's a laughter, there's a camaraderie among the people that are there, and the bonds that are made, in that moment. That's kind of cool. That's a special thing, and that helped me kind of, formulate some of as we went through our strategic planning back in, I think we did it in February, March of this year. That was part of what we talked about in our, as we were going through our mission. And that, I have to say, as we've gotten more and more local clients and we've done these markets, I've really enjoyed seeing the joy on people's faces when I hand them a brand new patch hat, that we just made for them. And they're like, oh, wow, this is so cool. That to me is something that I carry, that motivates me, that I want to see that smile. I want to be able to serve that customer. And so really the end consumer, the end customer that has a smile on their face is part of my why. And it's part of our company's why. And then beyond that, the financial stability to be able to do things with my wife, much like you just said, philanthropy and, traveling and doing things for free that we might have had to charge for if we didn't have the financial wherewithal to support ourselves in, ministry endeavors or even just traveling. I've always wanted to travel. So some of those things, those are a few of my whys as I've kind of, again, taken time. It took me several years doing print on demand before I had that conversation with Luke, and he really helped me kind of identify that part of the why. So it might not be something that's just going to come to you, as you're driving down the road, listen to this podcast. It may come a year from now, and that's okay. As long as you get there, as long as you stay the course, and don't give up in the meantime. So I think, and then to your point also, I think, building a business where people enjoy coming to work and have purpose and meaning, and there's a camaraderie here, and we're all on the same team, and that culture of togetherness that I really want to foster that. I'm not that great at it, honestly. I'm learning how to do that, and it's something that Amy, my operations manager, and I have talked about a lot. But that's another kind of why, because I love that I get to employ people and help them have their level of I help them provide for their families, and on and on it goes. So that's several of those. But
totally.
But there you go.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. And I, again, resonate with a lot of what you said as well. So if you guys know what your why is, or if you're driving down the street and you have this aha moment and the light bulb goes off and you realize your why moment, we want to know. Tell us what your why is, if you know it. Like Travis said, you might not right away, but if you do, we want to know. And the best way to let us know what your why is, and to have people support your why and to rally around your why and to support you as you pursue your why, is to join the Facebook group. PrintOnDemandCast.com/Facebook. Let us know what your why is, because we want to know. Genuinely, we want to know what has brought you to the table and how we can help you get comfortable at the table, and what we can do to provide you with the tools to succeed as you continue on this endeavor. Because we again genuinely are invested into your success, which is why the Print on Demand Cast exists. So as always, guys, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. We hope that this was helpful. We hope that it was beneficial to you. And again, let us know what your why is. If you guys have a question for us, you can let us know at the Facebook group. You can even shoot Travis and I an email, info@printondemandcast.com, and let us know what questions you have. Again, if you like the content, if you like what you're hearing, if you want more of it and you want to support the show, the easiest way to support the show, printondemandcast.com/shop. Grab yourself a shirt that is based off of a dad joke, inevitably, but has been turned into a really cool design that you can wear and then tell your friends exactly what it means. We are, of course, appreciative of everything you guys do to support the show, even if it's just listening and subscribing as well. But know that the money that we get from t-shirt sales is reinvested right back into the show, into equipment, into doing live interviews, remote interviews at trade shows, stuff like that. So if you want to help us achieve those goals and achieve part of our why, you like that? That's called full circle. Nice. To achieve part of our why, printondemandcast.com/shop is the easiest way to do it. And again, we say this every week. We are everywhere. that podcasts are available to you wherever podcasts are. The PODcast is for your listening pleasure. So if you're happening to listen to us on iTunes, please leave us a 5-star review. You don't even have to write anything, but if you do write anything, we might shout you out and feature you on an episode of the Print on Demand cast. And maybe on the fly, I'm bringing this up. Yes, I think, maybe, ideas. The next person that posts a review on the Print on Demand cast on Apple and leaves a written review, we'll get you a free t-shirt on us of your choice. Ooh. So let us know how you like the show and how things are going. If it's a 3.5-star rating, we'll give you 3/4 of a shirt. So it's got to be 5 stars for the full shirt, unless you just want a sleeve. So that is the rules, and they are stringently rigid. So leave us a 5-star review with a written review, and let us know what you think. And as always, we will be here again next week for your listening pleasure. For Travis, I'm Josiah. We'll see you next week right here on the Print on Demand cast.
See ya.
Hey, babe. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular Show. If you got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.
So Travis, I had company here this last weekend, and we of course had an air mattress, and we're getting out the linens, right? Mm-hmm. Sure. And I found a 2,000-year-old grease stain the other day.
2,000 years old. Wow.
I botched that joke so hard.